Hi, I'm Simon, co-founder and CEO of LabForward. In this session, I'm going to demonstrate how our two solutions, LabFolder and LabOperator, assist laboratory personnel in conducting an experiment of mixing an iced tea. We're going to prepare the experiment in our electronic lab notebook, LabFolder. Then we're going to execute a procedure in LabOperator, our lab execution system. This solution is going to guide us through the experiment and also enables us to control instruments and collect data on the go. And finally, we're going to review the recorded experiment in LabFolder. I'm going to demonstrate how you can search for related data and retrieve exactly the information you need. I'm going to start on a blank page in LabFolder. Among my templates, I find a procedure for mixing an iced tea. In the resulting entry, I see the instructions, how to perform the experiment, I see the standard parameters, for example, the amount of iced tea powder I should use, and on the bottom, I see a section with empty data fields for the results. In the instructions, I can add a link or a button to start the workflow in LabOperator. So let's click that button and LabOperator opens in the execution view. The first step in LabOperator is to fetch the parameters I planned in LabFolder. I could also preload all these parameters when starting from LabFolder. However, we wanted to emphasize that we're really dealing with two solutions here that are connected via interfaces. It's not one monolithic structure, and you can see here how one solution is fetching the individual data from another solution. Of course, the data could also be fetched from any other ELN or laboratory information management system, not just from LabFolder. In the next step, I'm prompted to scan the instruments I need to use for mixing my iced tea. First, I scan this balance. This action connects LabOperator to the balance and also gives me some information on the qualification status, the last maintenance date, and other metadata. I repeat that step for the stirrer. And I'm using the same procedure for scanning the iced tea powder and tracking the relevant information. Then I'm entering the weighing step, and LabOperator prompts me to place a flask on the balance and to tare it. Now I have to weigh the amount of iced tea I chose earlier. I print the result to LabOperator and continue. Next, I need to add water. The next instruction tells me that now I should place the flask on the stirrer. By the way, you can be as granular as you want with these instructions. If you know all these tiny actions by heart, you can also create a workflow that prompts you just for the most important instructions and data. Once I click Start Stirring here, the next step is triggered automatically. What we can see here is how LabOperator bidirectionally communicates with lab equipment. On the one hand, we can set parameters such as the stirring speed and send commands to the device. On the other hand, we can receive data from the device and monitor its activity and store the results. Now my iced tea is ready, and of course I need to taste it. Here we go. Wow, it's really delicious, so let's give it a 10. I definitely need to record this result. In this last step of my LabOperator workflow, I see a report of all the parameters and data, the sample and the devices I used. From here, I can now send the data to my LabFolder ELN. Do you remember that little results section when we planned the experiment in LabFolder? When I now reload the page, all the relevant data we generated in our experiment is already imported. Here is the actual amount I weighed together with the delta to the target amount. Here is the rating I chose for the taste, and here are all the instruments and materials I used for producing the iced tea. Once documented, I can share the data with my colleagues or ask others to validate my procedure in a compliant way. What I'd like to show you now is the advanced search capabilities of LabFolder. When I search for iced tea in the search bar, I end up with a lot of hits among entries and templates that somehow contain the term iced tea. So in case I'm not lucky and spot the content I search for on the top of these results, I need to narrow down the number of search results. The first thing I'm going to do is add an author field to the search query. Since I clearly recall that I did the experiments, I'm entering my name. This reduces the number of search results, but I'm able to get even more precise. I might recall now that I used a certain amount of iced tea, so I can add a building block to my query that searches exactly for this physical unit and the chosen value. As you can see, this reduces the number of search results even further and displays exactly the information I was looking for. In summary, this webinar demonstrates how our software suite can assist laboratory teams in any phase of an experiment, in planning, preparing, executing, and documentation. With our solutions, we increase productivity, reduce the risk of errors and data loss, and at the same time make your data available for searching and mining. We are really driven by helping you to make groundbreaking discoveries and to deliver high-quality results. So, thank you very much for your attention, and in case you would like to learn more, don't hesitate to reach out.